Max, I don't know if it's just me, but have you noticed that AJ's been really different since he's won the Kickoff championship?
Wait, you mean him walking around with his collar popped, walking around inside with sunglasses on, and he's showing off way too much, chest hair, Michael.
Yeah, it's like he's a whole new person with a whole new attitude, and I don't know if I really like it.
I don't either, especially when he's walking around class with the belt on. I mean, that's for the show only, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is our special thing.
Talking about this thing, boys? Losers? When you look at how shiny it is, it's kind of nice, isn't it?
I mean, this is just ridiculous.
This is the worst feeling in the world. I mean, I don't remember the last time I've ever felt this bad about a game, let alone a day in my life.
I mean, I think I feel the same way as Cade on Saturday. That could have been the worst day of my life, but mainly because AJ's the champ.
Don't get used to having that for too long, AJ. Me and Michael are wanting that back quickly.
I hear a lot of talk. I need to see some action here, boys.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Iowans weekly pregame show and your #1 source for Hawkeye sports. I'm Michael Merrick.
And I'm Max Von Grease, and today
we're gonna break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Dude, seriously?
What are you doing, man? That's his line. Well, I know how I'm gonna try to bounce back from the L over this last weekend, but what if the Hawkeyes had to say about bouncing back from their depressing loss on Saturday?
You can't lose a game twice, so you can't let last week make you lose this week. So you got to keep moving forward and just build upon and take the lessons that you learned in the loss.
And just we have a 24-hour rule. Whether you win or you lose, you're just kind of sitting on it, and that just kind of gets you fired up to go practice and go play the next game.
While Iowa wants to move on from that game ASAP, Max, we just can't let it go without breaking down how bad it was on Saturday.
Yeah, Michael, last Saturday's game was really, really hard to watch, and of course the Hawkeyes were broadcasted during CBS's primetime slot for just about everyone to see. I don't want to get into the game just too much yet, but a couple key stats to take away from the game with Penn State was that the Hawks had the same number of turnovers as first downs, which was 4, and Penn State had more rushing attempts than Iowa had passing yards. And the Hawks just had 20 rushing yards on 17 attempts. This was an embarrassing loss, to say the least, Michael, and the only positive that I really can take out of it is that at least this happened only 4 games in the season and not at the end of the season when, realistically, we're trying to compete for a ticket to Indy.
Great point, Max. And if you checked social media over the weekend, you would have thought that the sky fell in Iowa City. And while suffering their first shutout since, well, any of us were alive on set, that had to be demoralizing and, to be frank, quite embarrassing. But like you said, there's still plenty of season to go. And like the Hawkeyes, we're going to try to move on to the rest of the season. And to do so, we're going to bring in DITV Sports reporter AJ Reister. AJ, you're really the only one riding high after this weekend, but how is Iowa feeling coming off of that big L to Penn State?
Well, Michael, it certainly didn't feel good, but they have another chance in prime time this weekend against Michigan State, and they're excited to play under the lights again. I mean, who wouldn't? But putting a positive product on the field for their fans is their main focus.
We have the best fans in the country, and I'll always state that. So just being able to play a night game in front of them, it's a tremendous feeling.
Under the lights at Kinnick, I mean, it's just anytime you get to play a game under the lights, it's just what you dream of as a kid. Like, those are the games that you want, and I mean, at the end of the day, we're living the dream. So I get to play Iowa football, and it's just an honor to be here.
It should certainly be a fun one this weekend on primetime NBC at 6:30 p.m. in a blacked-out Kinnick Stadium. But now looking around the rest of the Big Ten, #2 Michigan is heading down to Lincoln to take on the Nebraska Huskers. The Wolverines are coming off a commanding victory over Rutgers, but Michigan did come out of the gates pretty slow. We'll see if Nebraska's defense could do something similar, and the Huskers are coming off a 14-point victory over Louisiana Tech to get back to 500, but we'll see how they fare against Big Bad Michigan. The Wolverines are 17-point favorites in this one. And #6 Penn State, who just beat Iowa, is traveling to Evanston to take on Northwestern. The Wildcats are coming off a stunning victory over Minnesota, where the Wildcats came back from down 21 to win in overtime. Now, Northwestern will have to take on a red-hot Nittany Lions team that just hung 31 against one of the best defenses in the nation. Penn State is a 27-point favorite in this one. And now looking outside the Big Ten, #11 Notre Dame is taking on the surprising #17 Duke Blue Devils. College game day is heading to Durham for the first time ever, and the Fighting Irish are coming off a heartbreaking loss to Ohio State, a last-second touchdown where Notre Dame only had 10 players on the field. They cannot make that same mistake against Duke. I mean, a basketball school is currently ranked 17th in the country and is undefeated. They've beaten Clemson, Lafayette, Northwestern, and just last weekend, they beat UConn 41-7. This offense is for real, but they'll have a tough test against a vengeful Notre Dame team. The Fighting Irish are 6-point favorites in the primetime matchup at 6:30 on ABC. That's a look around the college slate this weekend. Boys, another amazing weekend of football is ahead of us. Any games stand out to you guys?
Well, AJ, a game that I have my eyes on this weekend is Iowa State visiting 14th ranked Oklahoma in Norman. The Cyclones are coming off their win against Oklahoma State and will have a very difficult time moving the ball against an Oklahoma team who really have reinvented their own identity behind head coach Brent Venables. Oklahoma is really, really impressive defensively, but I have a strange feeling that the Cyclones will make it more of a game than what most experts think.
Yeah, Max, I always love getting an extra talk about the in-state guys at Iowa State, but, you know, don't call me crazy. I wouldn't be too sad if they got blown out, kind of similarly to how we did this past weekend. But I'm going to keep my eye on another Big 12 matchup, and that's Kansas versus Texas. You know, it looks like Texas is back right now, but if they can't keep up that momentum against this tough Jayhawk squad, the memes on social media, they're going to be a chef's kiss. They're going to be legendary. But, Max, I think it's time for the Hawkeye highlight, and you told me you have something to get off of your chest.
Yeah, guys, my Hawkeye highlight for this week is QB1 Cade McNamara. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he just said in that beginning quote that after last week's game that it could have been and probably is the worst day of his life. Wow. I mean, if that's how Cade really feels only 4 weeks into this young season, then I don't know what truly epitomizes the laughingstock that is our offense right now. And trust me, Cade, Saturday's loss made me really upset too, but I've felt this way too many times being a lifelong Hawkeye fan that it most definitely wasn't the worst day of my life, but it did make me question my fandom and the Hawks, and we haven't even made it to our bye week yet. Mr. McNamara, oh, let me tell you a story about the greatest Hawkeye football team to be around while I was alive. 2016, we were undefeated, only for Iowa to get embarrassed by Run CMC and Stanford in one of the biggest bowl games in the history of college football. This Penn State game was one of the biggest games of the season for Iowa, and on Saturday it was like I had seen this movie before, but this time I couldn't help but laugh. This is what it's like being a Hawkeye fan. Sure, I love watching our teams. I love watching Torrey Taylor step up and boot punts, but should I feel scared every time our offense goes on the field for a new drive? This Hawkeye offense is the joke of college football right now. Coming into the season, I was so excited to see how Cade could change this team and this offense, but ultimately, I should have known that it was all but a fairy tale. The expectations coming into this season, well, actually the bare minimum of the expectations before the season was a 25-point average per game. And here's a little secret that you can't tell anyone, but we're not hitting that mark, especially when our offense has a third down percentage that ranks 122nd in the country. Iowa also ranks 129th in the country in total offense. What I'm trying to get at here is that we've brought in a proven winner in Cade, and obviously if he chose to come here, he knew that the offense could at least be average, but they're nowhere close to average. Yes, his play so far has been a bit shaky, and it's clear he's not 100%. Iowa has a pretty easy schedule, barring some hiccups along the way, but this offense has the potential to still be so great. The season is far from over, and keep in mind the Hawkeyes could have a shot at redemption in Indy against those Nittany Lions later on, so keep your head up, Cade. There's still 8 games left to silence everyone who said this is the worst offense in college football.
Very strong message, Max, and you're right. There's a lot of season left to go in this one, but it all starts with Michigan State. And while Iowa fans have felt deflated this week, the same can be said about the people in East Lansing. Michigan State head coach Mel Tucker has been officially fired after sexual assault allegations, and I spoke with Yusuf Anaya from the Spartan Sports Report to talk about the feeling around campus.
But like the feeling is definitely a bit of deflation. I would say like deflating is the best word I could use to describe it, because like we were just riding so high like 2 years ago, beating Michigan at home, top 10 in the country, undefeated for a while. And then, you know, it's just all coming crashing down. So, like, it's hard to really have many positives in the immediate future, like heading towards next week. I can't say that the large majority of Michigan State fans have much, you know, hope. But that being said, the beautiful thing about college football is kind of the ability to turn things around. And like as quick as Mel Tucker came and made this program awesome for a year or two, as quick as it fell. So immediately, I don't think anybody has real expectations going forward. I think people are just want to see a win for almost the players. And
Mel Tucker is preparing to file a wrongful termination suit against the university, but we will have more information as that is ongoing. But moving back to the field, things aren't going the best for Michigan State, but they do still have some ballers on this team, especially their running back Nate Carter. Carter is a bowling ball of a running back, and he's currently 4th in the Big Ten right now in rushing yards, and this is a conference that is loaded with running backs every year, and this offense will only go as far as Carter can carry him.
He squeezes through holes, and he's laterally pretty quick. So once he gets downhill, he's not a real easy guy to bring down, and he's quicker than I think a lot of people expect. So I think his power is honestly the main thing that sticks out to me. Is like he's a physical specimen. He's one of those guys where like those weight room picks really stick out to you. So he's a guy where it's just like does not look like a fun guy to bring down, and you see that in his game.
Another playmaker to look out for is wideout Jaron Glover. Despite not being on the field as much as Michigan State fans want, Glover has still been able to make the big play. He currently leads Michigan State in receiving yards, and he's one of the lone deep threats Iowa has to worry about.
He's really going up there and making a nice grab, and I can't think of many players on Michigan State's roster who have the ability to go up and win that 50-50 ball after Keon Coleman left. So I kind of look at him in that sense of like a deep threat. You can throw it up to him, and he's a tough guy to beat with that 50-50 ball.
Now going on to the Spartan defense, they aren't the world beaters like Iowa played last week in the Nittany Lions. As the past 2 weeks, they have been torched by their opponents, but they're not going against the basement of the Big Ten defensively. Spartans are coming off of 2 tough games, giving up 72 points combined in those games, but those were against some of the elite college quarterbacks in Washington's Michael Penix and Maryland's Tunga Vailoa. This is definitely a game where both teams are selling to the locker room that this is where you can bounce back and get on the right track. But now it's time that we get some revenge, Max. I am so sick of seeing AJ flex this title win on us. So it's prediction time. So let's bring AJ back in. Let's see if you'll retain your title after this weekend.
Well, fellas, I'm certainly looking to keep the belt, and I think it fits me pretty nicely. So you guys might need to take some notes before I start rolling. Otherwise, it's staying with me all year long. For my player to watch, I've got Quinn Schulte. Michigan State starting quarterback Noah Kim has thrown 3 interceptions this year. With Cooper DeJean and Xavier Nwapka in the secondary, I wouldn't be surprised if when Schulte is out on the field, they try and pick on him. And because of that, he's going to make them pay with a pick himself. For the game, I got the Hawks in this one bouncing back with a 25-14 victory, getting Brian Ferentz's his 25 points after dropping a goose egg last week. Max, how do you see this one playing out?
Well, AJ, that belt fits you nicely because it's from the kids section of Walmart. But you're right, I need to step up my game before you get too comfortable being on top. For my player to watch this Saturday, it's a familiar face, but I've got Cade McNamara. I fully expect QB12 to have a huge bounce-back game after last week's loss. You're at home, under the lights in Kinnick for the first time. Let the cannon loose! Show everyone who you are and what this offense can truly be. I think Cade has a huge night. And this plays perfectly into my score prediction for this game as well. If I'm in charge of the offensive plays, I say pull out all of the tricks and win back this fan base who has zero confidence in this offense. I think that if the Hawkeyes can do that, they win this one easily, 28-0. This game shouldn't be close, and I'll stand tall behind the Hawkeyes even after last week's loss. But let's go back out to East Lansing where Yusuf has his final score prediction and his player to watch out for.
Yeah, we'll start with player to watch. And I'm going to have a little fun with this one because I know you guys are tight end you. I'm going to go our tight end, Malik Carr. He is, I've said physical specimen before, but he truly is a physical specimen. And he's done it 2 times where he almost like casually, it seems like he doesn't think about it. He'll just put his hand out and catch it one-handed and keep running. And he's just a freak athlete. I think if he has a good game, that offense can really look to level up from where they've been in the last couple of weeks. Honestly, I think it might be a little more high scoring than both these fan bases might anticipate. I think it's either close either way or Iowa gets the pull away. I don't see Michigan State winning by a lot. But the final score prediction I'm going to give you, I'm going to go 24-20. 24-20 Michigan State. That's my final score prediction. If we can just not consistently shoot ourselves in the foot, I think we may be able to pull this one out. And I don't know why I feel bad saying this. I know this is how it goes, but no, I do think we, may pull this one out. But
never feel bad for backing your squad, Yusuf. I mean, last week I literally did a song and dance about how Iowa was going to pull off the upset, but we don't need to speak on that game anymore. Moving on to my player to watch, I'm going to keep up the trends of tight ends. I'm going with Eric All. We all saw All start to find his groove against Penn State up until his fumble in the red zone, but I think he bounces back this week and grabs at least one touchdown, but I'd keep my eye on Eric grabbing all of the Hawkeye passing touchdowns, which is probably only 2 at most. For my game prediction, I have the Hawkeyes kind of running away with this one, 24-10. The Iowa defense is near the bottom in the Big Ten in sacks and turnovers forced, so look for the Hawks to step it up on that side of the ball as well. Of course, this offense has a chance to get right against a defense that, as I mentioned earlier, has given up 72 points over the past 2 games. Well, that's how I have things shaking out this weekend, Max. I just got to get that title away from AJ. Sick of seeing him strut around like he owns this place.
Whether it's you or it's me, I'm okay with either one of us winning and taking away from that goober over there.
Yeah, I'm just sick of all of his funny business. But thank you, AJ, and thank you, Yusuf, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Before the Kickoff.
For all the latest on Hawkeye sports, be sure to check out the DailyIowan.com website and the YouTube page for all the latest on Hawkeye football. From the University of Iowa, I'm Max von Grease.
And I'm Michael Merrick, and have a wonderful weekend of football, everyone.